It is likely possible to wire the first floor with the existing electrical service and panels, assuming certain conditions are met. First, consider the electrical load. The estimated electrical load for the first floor should be within the capacity of the existing 50 amp panel. For general lighting, a bathroom circuit, and a kitchen circuit, the estimated load is typically around 20 to 25 amps. Gas cooking stoves typically require a dedicated 120 volt 20 amp circuit, adding another 20 amps. Therefore, the estimated total load for the first floor is approximately 40 to 45 amps, which should be within the capacity of the 50 amp panel. Second, make sure the panel capacity is sufficient. The existing 50 amp panel should have sufficient space for the additional circuits required for the first floor renovation. Third, consider circuit protection. The panel must contain appropriate circuit breakers to protect the new circuits. Here are some steps to take. 1. Check the panel capacity. Determine if the existing panel has enough space for the additional circuits required for the first floor renovation. If there is not enough space, you may need to upgrade to a larger panel. 2. Estimate the electrical load. Calculate the estimated electrical load for the first floor renovation, including general lighting, the bathroom circuit, the kitchen circuit, and the gas cooking range. 3. Install new circuits. Install the necessary circuits for the first floor renovation, ensuring proper circuit protection and wire sizing. 4. Inspect and test. Once the new circuits are installed, inspect and test them thoroughly to ensure safety and proper function. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician to assess the specific electrical needs of your renovation and ensure proper installation. Let's delve deeper into each of these aspects to provide a more comprehensive understanding. Starting with electrical load calculation, it's crucial to go beyond simple estimations and consider the actual appliances and devices that will be used. For general lighting, determine the total wattage of all the light fixtures on the first floor. Divide the total wattage by 120 volts to find the amperage draw. For the bathroom circuit, consider items like hair dryers, curling irons, and electric shavers. Each of these devices can draw a significant amount of power, so it's essential to account for their potential usage. A dedicated 20 amp circuit is generally recommended for bathrooms to handle these loads. The kitchen circuit needs to accommodate various appliances such as refrigerators, microwave ovens, toasters, and blenders. These appliances can have high power demands, especially when running simultaneously. A minimum of 2 20 amp circuits is typically required for a kitchen to ensure adequate power and prevent overloading. For the gas cooking range, while the gas provides the heat, an electrical connection is still needed for the igniter, lights, and potentially a convection fan. This typically requires a dedicated 120 volt 20 amp circuit. To accurately estimate the electrical load, it's recommended to create a detailed list of all the electrical devices and appliances that will be used on the first floor, along with their respective wattage or amperage ratings. Summing up the individual loads will give you a more precise estimate of the total electrical load. Now let's discuss panel capacity in more detail. The existing 50 amp panel has a limited number of available slots for circuit breakers. Each new circuit requires a dedicated circuit breaker, so it's essential to ensure that the panel has enough space to accommodate all the new circuits. If the panel is already full, you may need to consider upgrading to a larger panel with more available slots. When choosing a new panel, it's advisable to select one with more capacity than you currently need to allow for future expansion. Additionally, ensure that the panel is properly rated for the total amperage of the electrical service. In this case, since the service is 100 amps, the panel should be rated for at least 100 amps. Next, let's examine circuit protection in greater detail. Circuit breakers are essential safety devices that protect electrical circuits from overloads and short circuits. When a circuit draws too much current, the circuit breaker trips, interrupting the flow of electricity and preventing potential damage or fire hazards. It's crucial to select the appropriate circuit breaker size for each circuit based on the wire size and the expected load. Using a circuit breaker that is too large can allow excessive current to flow, potentially overheating the wires and causing a fire. Conversely, using a circuit breaker that is too small can cause nuisance tripping, interrupting power unnecessarily. The National Electrical Code (NEC) provides guidelines for selecting the appropriate circuit breaker sizes for various applications. For example, a 15-amp circuit breaker is typically used for general lighting and receptacle circuits using 14 American wire gauge (AUG) wire, while a 20-amp circuit breaker is typically used for kitchen and bathroom circuits using 12 AWG wire. Now let's go through the steps to take in more detail. Step 1. Checking the panel capacity. Carefully inspect the existing panel to determine the number of available slots for circuit breakers. If the panel is full, consider upgrading to a larger panel. When selecting a new panel, ensure that it is compatible with the existing electrical service and has enough capacity for future expansion. Step 2. Estimating the electrical load. Create a detailed list of all the electrical devices and appliances that will be used on the first floor, along with their respective wattage or amperage ratings. Sum up the individual loads to get a more precise estimate of the total electrical load. Be sure to account for any potential future additions or changes to the electrical load. Step 3. Installing new circuits. Install the necessary circuits for the first floor renovation, following all applicable electrical codes and safety regulations. Use the appropriate wire size and circuit breaker size for each circuit. Ensure that all connections are properly made and that the wiring is securely installed. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the installation. Step 4. Inspecting and testing. Once the new circuits are installed, thoroughly inspect and test them to ensure safety and proper function. Use a multimeter to verify that the voltage and current are within acceptable limits. Test each circuit breaker to ensure that it trips properly under overload conditions. Check all receptacles and switches to ensure that they are properly wired and functioning correctly. Finally, remember that it is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician to assess the specific electrical needs of your renovation and ensure proper installation. An electrician can perform a load calculation to determine the exact electrical load requirements of the first floor. They can also inspect the existing electrical system to ensure that it is in good condition and meets all applicable codes. Additionally, an electrician can provide guidance on selecting the appropriate electrical equipment and materials for the renovation. By consulting with an electrician, you can ensure that the electrical work is done safely and correctly, minimizing the risk of electrical hazards and ensuring the long-term reliability of the electrical system. Let's expand on the importance of consulting with a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous if not performed correctly. Improper wiring can lead to electrical shocks, fires, and other hazards. A qualified electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience to perform electrical work safely and effectively. They are also familiar with all applicable electrical codes and regulations, ensuring that the work is done in compliance with the law. When choosing an electrician, it's essential to select one who is licensed and insured. A licensed electrician has met the requirements set by the state or local government to perform electrical work. Insurance protects you from liability in case of accidents or damage during the electrical work. It's also a good idea to check the electrician's references and read online reviews to get an idea of their reputation and quality of work. A qualified electrician can provide a variety of services, including load calculations, panel upgrades, circuit installations, and electrical inspections. They can also help you troubleshoot electrical problems and provide recommendations for energy efficiency. Investing in professional electrical services can save you time, money, and headaches in the long run. It can also ensure the safety and reliability of your electrical system, protecting your home and family from potential hazards. To further illustrate the importance of accurate load calculations, consider the following scenario. Suppose you underestimate the electrical load of the first floor and install a panel that is too small. This can lead to frequent circuit breaker tripping, which can be a nuisance and disrupt your daily activities. In some cases, It can also lead to overheating of the wires and potential fire hazards. On the other hand, if you overestimate the electrical load and install a panel that is too large, you may end up spending more money than necessary on the electrical equipment. A qualified electrician can perform an accurate load calculation to determine the optimal panel size for your specific needs, saving you money and ensuring the safety of your electrical system. Another important consideration is the type of wiring used in the first floor renovation. The type of wiring must be appropriate for the intended use and meet all applicable electrical codes. For example, in wet locations such as bathrooms and kitchens, ground fault circuit interrupter (GFCI) protection is required to prevent electrical shocks. GFCI outlets and circuit breakers are designed to detect ground faults and interrupt the flow of electricity, protecting people from potential hazards. Additionally, the wiring must be properly sized to handle the electrical load. Using undersized wiring can lead to overheating and potential fire hazards. The National Electrical Code (NEC) provides guidelines for selecting the appropriate wire size for various applications. It's also important to ensure that the wiring is properly installed and protected from damage. Using conduit or other protective measures can help prevent the wiring from being exposed to moisture, physical damage, or other hazards. A qualified electrician can help you select the appropriate type of wiring and ensure that it is properly installed and protected. In addition to wiring and circuit breakers, other electrical components such as receptacles, switches, and light fixtures must also meet certain safety standards. These components must be listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, (UL), or Electrical Testing Laboratories, (ETL). Listing indicates that the component has been tested and meets certain safety standards. It's important to choose electrical components that are listed by a recognized testing laboratory to ensure that they are safe and reliable. Also, be sure to install these components according to the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. This will help prevent electrical hazards and ensure the long-term performance of your electrical system. Furthermore, when planning the layout of the electrical circuits on the first floor, consider the convenience and functionality of the electrical outlets and switches. Place outlets in convenient locations to minimize the need for extension cords. Install switches near doorways and other frequently used areas to make it easy to control the lighting. Also, consider adding dimmer switches to control the brightness of the lights in certain areas. This can help create a more comfortable and energy-efficient environment. When installing electrical outlets and switches, be sure to follow all applicable electrical codes and safety regulations. Use the appropriate wiring methods and ensure that all connections are properly made. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the installation. Let's consider some specific examples of how to calculate the electrical load for common appliances and devices. A typical refrigerator draws about 1 to 2 amps at 120 volts, which translates to 120 to 240 watts. A microwave oven can draw between 8 and 15 amps at 120 volts, or 960 to 1800 watts. A toaster typically draws 7 to 10 amps at 120 volts, or 840 to 1200 watts. A hairdryer can draw between 10 and 15 amps at 120 volts, or 1200 to 1800 watts. A coffee maker typically draws 6 to 8 amps at 120 volts, or 720 to 960 watts. A television can draw between 1 and 3 amps at 120 volts, or 120 to 360 watts. These are just a few examples, and the actual power consumption of an appliance can vary depending on its make, model, and usage patterns. To get a more accurate estimate of the electrical load, it's best to consult the appliance's nameplate or owner's manual, which typically provides the wattage or amperage rating. By carefully considering the electrical needs of the first floor renovation and consulting with a qualified electrician, you can ensure that the electrical work is done safely and correctly, providing a reliable and functional electrical system for years to come. Remember that electrical codes and regulations can vary depending on your location, so it's important to check with your local authorities to ensure that you are following all applicable rules. Also, be sure to obtain any necessary permits before starting any electrical work. This will help ensure that the work is inspected and approved by the local authorities, minimizing the risk of future problems. In summary, wiring a renovated first floor requires careful planning, accurate load calculations, and adherence to all applicable electrical codes and safety regulations. Consulting with a qualified electrician is highly recommended to ensure that the work is done safely and correctly. By following these guidelines, you can create a safe, reliable, and functional electrical system for your renovated first floor. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, it's best to leave it to a qualified professional. Electricity can be dangerous if not handled properly, and improper wiring can lead to serious consequences. Take your time, do your research, and don't hesitate to ask for help when needed. By taking these precautions, you can ensure that your first floor renovation is a success and that your electrical system is safe and reliable for years to come.